Welcome patrons! This week we continue on with more media tie-ins for Dragon Age, this one being another web series. Warden's Fall follows Warden Kristoff, alive and healthy for once, and on one last mission to figure out why the Darkspawn are attacking travelers, even after the Blight has ended. What's going on? Well, let's talk about Warden's Fall. About. Sponsored by BioWare and made using their fancy toolset, Warden's Fall was made by Machinima using in-game graphics. Mostly. I'll get to that in a bit. For the younger crowd who was used to Overwatch's nicely animated movies, the premise of this probably seems a little bit odd. Why use the crappy in-game animations and textures with all of its graphical limitations to make a movie? Well, the main answer is, at the time, this was a lot easier and cheaper to do, and that's how the channel Machinima got started. The whole shtick of Machinimas is using the game to create the animations rather than expensive animation software. While this practice was usually just for fan creations, the YouTube channel Machinima got so popular that actual companies like BioWare licensed their material out, and that's how you get Warden's Fall. The first episode aired on May 22nd, 2010, just about a week after the Dragon Age Origins Awakening expansion came out. So for the most part, people knew that things weren't going to go so well for Kristoff in the end here. For the most part, the 5 episodes came out once per week until the 5th episode that came out almost a month after the 4th episode. And we'll talk more about that as we go on. One other thing to note is that you can't actually find this on Machinima anymore. I'm not actually sure when this happened. I thought I remembered watching it on Machinima around 2015, which would make this a recent change, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. Either way, to rewatch it and get footage of it, I found the YouTube channel of Jason Choi, the project lead for the miniseries, and who uploaded it as a whole a week after the last episode came out. I've linked that version down below. As for when this takes place in the timeline, it's somewhere within the 6 months after the Blight ended and right before Awakening begins. After that, we don't really have any hard dates. Warden's Fall, Part 1. We start off with the title screen explaining that the Blight has been defeated, Kristoff is the Grey Warden, and the Darkspawn are still killing while they're fleeing back in the deep roads. Okay, let's go on. A dreamy image of a woman turning around is shown as Kristoff is interrupted from his daydream. Which, side note, I'm assuming this is supposed to be his wife Aura, but she just looks different from in-game, but whatever. Anyway, Kristoff is told by a Dalish elf that the men are ready, and off they run into the forest. While no one in this miniseries has a uniform, we are to assume that this is a group of wardens. They stumbled on a ruined village, its people absolutely massacred. A mage in the group spots a survivor and wants to help, but Kristoff stops him, saying that the trail of Darkspawn grows cold. The mage, who looks like Anders but totally isn't, disobeys orders and begins to mumble something to heal the man. And then he's kicked by Kristoff for disobeying orders. The other members of the group say nothing, and then they move on, the survivor dying. We cut to a group of Darkspawn, and they are being attacked. Despite the sounds of a battle cry from what seems like dozens of men, the 4 wardens ambush the spawn. And here we get a really good example of what I really don't like about this miniseries. The camera is way too close and moves way too much during the action, and it makes it really hard to follow what's actually going on. Eventually, the Dalish guy is killed by a Hurlock. When the battle is over, Kristoff looks over the dying warden while,
He's passed on from this world. There's nothing I can do.
He's making noises. That guy's still alive. Well, Kristoff tells the young Dalish man that he should go to the Maker's side when the camera pans out to reveal that they were being watched by a mysterious figure. As a spoiler, the series will never actually get to who this is, but it looks a lot like The First, which is one of the disciples of the Mother in Awakening. Part 2. We open up to a group of people traveling. Oddly enough, it's mostly human men and elven women. I don't really know why. Anyway, the group gets to the Black Marsh, and the leader yells out to the others that they're to camp here, and tomorrow they should reach Amaranthine. At night, an elven woman notices that their guide is doing something weird, and he stumbles that he is just going to get water. When she asks if he needs help, he awkwardly says no, and then he leaves. We cut again to the same elven woman and her daughter being woken up by 2 men yelling at each other that Cyril, the guide, is gone. The daughter asks her mother what is wrong, and she assures her that it's nothing. Kid goes to sleep, and then the mom goes to investigate herself. The elven woman tells them to stop yelling so loud. One of the guys gets pissy, calls her a knife ear. Woman then pulls out a knife, but then the three hear something as a strange green fog is seen in the marsh. The younger man calls for Cyril, but is soon killed by a thrown knife. It's the Darkspawn. The other two are blasted by magic, and as the mother elf struggles to get to her feet, we hear her child calling for help. The camp is slow to wake up and find out what's going on, and are soon attacked as well. The elven woman finds her daughter, yelling for her to run, and the two dash off into the marsh while the others are blasted by magic. But the episode ends with them getting cut off and the woman screaming. Part 3. We open up to the bar in Amaranthine with a group of wardens singing songs. Kristoff has some traumatic flashbacks, but is interrupted by another warden that's a friend of his. They have drinks, but are interrupted by an elven messenger. The warden, Lieutenant Gable, wishes to speak to Sergeant Kristoff, and it's urgent. We jump to the keep where Gable greets Kristoff. Kristoff asks that he be released from duty so he can return home to Jader, but Gable mentions that he needs to go on one last mission. Travelers are being attacked by something. It could be thugs or even Dalish, but Kristoff is to find out what's going on. Kristoff asks if it's unlikely to be Darkstone. Why is it the warden's duty to figure it out? But Gable mentions that it's also a warden's duty to restore order. Here we also learn that Kristoff used to be a bounty hunter before he joined the wardens, and he will know the underbelly of Amaranthine well enough to figure out what's going on better than anyone else. Gable tells Kristoff that one city elf survived the last attack and doesn't have much longer to live. We cut to Cyril and Amaranthine walking into an alleyway. A bag of money is dropped on the floor by a man in a robe. The man explains that the mother is pleased with the man's efforts and that they need more people soon. The man tells Cyril that the mother's powers are growing as well as her appetite. Cyril has till sunset tomorrow to do whatever his duty is, probably bringing more people to somewhere. And then the strange man leaves, and Cyril takes his money and runs. Part 4. Kristoff goes to talk to the elf who is being cared for by the healers in the chantry. Kristoff asks what happened and who is behind the attack, with the elf saying that he isn't really sure what happened. He says that more than 24 people, mostly families, were all killed, and that Cyril was the one who showed them the way, although he disappeared soon before the attack. Before Kristoff leaves, the elf tells him that they took his son and begs Kristoff to find him, although honestly, the dialogue is a bit confusing, and I don't know if he means find his son or find Cyril who is responsible, but he's gonna find one of those two. But anyway, we cut to a dwarven pimp named Bartholomew yelling at an elven woman, saying that the 20 bits she made isn't going to be enough. The dwarf complains and stomps back inside, where he is greeted with Kristoff. Bartholomew is scared of the warden and begins to say that he isn't pimping anymore, but Kristoff cuts him off. He's here for information on Cyril. Kristoff pays the dwarf for information, and he tells him that he smuggles immigrants into Amaranthine. When Bartholomew begins to act coy for more money when Kristoff asks where to find him, he is then slammed into a wall.
Do you take me for a fool? Do you not see this crest?
Anyway, Kristoff threatens him that he's seen some shit and he will not hesitate to kill a bitch, but Bartholomew squeaks out that Cyril will be at the blood duel at the full moon tonight. I don't know what any of that is. Kristoff walks into the blood duel, which looks to be an underground fighting arena, and spots Cyril. Walking over to him, two thugs notice Kristoff and one recognizes him, and then they begin to follow him. And then this happens? And then the woman screams, and Cyril knows that he is being followed and runs. Part 5. Cyril runs through Amaranthine, and under Amaranthine, and at one point they run into a chantry, and out of a chantry, and then he almost shoots Kristoff, but misses. More running, and then Kristoff does what he should have done a very long time ago, and throws a knife into Cyril's leg. Kristoff walks very slowly to Cyril, who is standing on a ledge, and to no one but Kristoff's surprise, he jumps. Kristoff yells at Cyril, asking who is behind the attacks, and Cyril says, he says,
Marsh, I don't speak
I said who?
There's nothing you can do. Farrell is lost.
And then the guards move everyone along, and as Kristoff walks away, an elven boy looks really surprised. And that's it. The series was never finished, and it all ends with that. Discussion. So I'm sure the question on everyone's mind is, what happens next? We don't really know the specifics, but from Awakening, we know that Kristoff spent more time in Amaranthine, and his search leads him to the Black Marshes, where he is killed and his body possessed by a spirit of justice in Awakening. Also, he probably shaves at one point, as dead Kristoff has stubble, while alive Kristoff has like a full head of hair and a goatee, but whatever. But what of the mysterious man, the elven boy? What did the mother need with all those people? I don't really know. Honestly, my best guess is that she fed a lot of the bodies to her children, but we don't really have proof one way or another. The elven boy was probably going to be some sort of clue to something, but we don't really know of. And then the mysterious man was... I don't really know. We've seen the architect pair up with circle mages in the past. Maybe it's someone from there, because apparently there was more people that could work for the architect in the book. I don't know. This could be anything. It could be nothing. I don't know. It could just be some crazy guy that got blighted and went to the Deep Roads and met the mother. I have no idea. So right off the bat, we learn that Kristoff is sort of an asshole. Like, I get you need to move on and leave the man to die, I guess. But there's no reason to kick the mage. I guess Kristoff, for the most part, what you see of him, he's just action hero man, here to do the hard things because he has to. But look how sad and mysterious he is. Poor action hero man. Which I'm making fun. It's not bad, it's just kind of overused. I think some people like this. It's not my cup of tea. And I want to talk about the tattoos used in the series, because a lot of them aren't vanilla. Some of these are mods. Actually, most of these are. Like, I'm very bad with finding the actual mods, but I swear I've seen these tattoos in packs before. Now, I'm not actually sure if the mods were made for this, then released, or this released, and someone thought it was cool and then made a duplicate, or what. But if you want these and know where to look, it is possible, and if you know what mods are actually shown in this, please link them below, because I would like to see them. Also, this human has a Dwarven castless brand look-alike. This is one of the modded ones, but it's pretty similar to a castless brand. And this other human has a Dalish Fauclead, so that's weird. When Kristoff has some flashbacks, we get this one of a woman holding a dead kid. I've seen some theories that this is Aura and Kristoff's child, but I never really got that until I read those theories. On one hand, this makes the inclusion of the scene make a lot more sense, as I didn't really know why it would be included otherwise. On the other hand, while this woman looks more like in-game Aura, she doesn't look like the Aura we saw in part 1. So could she be an older daughter he had, a sister, a mistress? I'm just honestly confused about this one scene. When Kristoff goes to meet Gable, there are two things that are weird. One, the Wardens don't often use the ranks mentioned in the series, and two, Gables offer him a drink from...
Does Malarak suit you? It's the best, straight from the cellars of the Athonian monks.
I have no idea what these Anthean or whatever he says monks are. We also get a look at a blood duel. What this is, we don't really know, as it's not seen in any of the other media, but I like the idea of an underground fighting ring in Ferelden, so it's too bad we couldn't see that in game. Now, something that doesn't normally bug me, but did in this, is that there are only like 5 voice actors and 99% of the characters seem to be voiced by one guy. While the voice acting isn't bad, it's just that you can really tell that they all share the same voice, and it's like Kristoff is constantly having interactions with one person. So overall, what do I think of this? I don't really. I almost feel like you can't judge this because nothing happens. I didn't remember much going in, but turns out that I remembered all that I really needed to know about it. I do think there is an interesting base here, and if the series continued, it could have been cool, but as it is, it's basically nothing. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the last episode took a month longer to come out than the others, and the project lead uploaded this as a whole a week after the last episode came out. I couldn't find any reasons why it was stopped, but I think that month was when they found out that the project was cancelled. Perhaps the series is too expensive and the interest in it not enough to support the costs, and poof, BioWare pulled it, or I don't really know what else it could be. So, is it really worth watching? Not really. It could have been, but it was never really given the chance to be good. But with what we see, we don't get a chance to get a good enough feel of it to judge. It doesn't really add anything to Kristoff's backstory in Awakening either. This goes just under one of those skippable things in Dragon Age media tie-ins. And that, dear patrons, is all that we know on Warden's Fall. Do you still have lingering questions, proof that I'm wrong, comments about your own fan theory? Feel free to tweet me at Accoladathon on Twitter or send a PM to user Galanon on Reddit. Dress your all.